Welcome back to the worm as always. It's getting there, you know? You feel it? It's getting there. Got all the wall boards up in here, and I've got a little bit of time before it gets really cold out. I'm gonna do some trim. I'm gonna trim out these windows. I think I got figured out how I want to do it. And trim the corners here, and also put some trim around the door. I chainsaw milled up all this cedar, and it came out just about right for the walls. I don't have enough done for the ceiling, which is kind of a bummer, but man, do I not want to do the ceiling. I mean, I want it to be done, I just don't feel like doing it. Used up the whole pile here for the walls, and this is what I got left over. Man, everything is getting soaked out here. This snow has been in the trees for over a week. It's been perfectly calm. And now there's a little bit of sunlight. It's around 30 degrees and it's just enough. See all the snowballs falling out of the trees? Should probably cover this thing back up. Although, I mean, all this stuff's green anyway. And a lot of it's soaked through, and that's how I use it. Don't really care. But I think I've got just enough there. Maybe a dozen boards of various sizes that I can do the trim inside. I should do the ceiling before I do the trim. But the temperatures dive into, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 degrees. When it's that cold, I mean, I work in single layer gloves that are generally wet. I've never really figured out how to do this kind of work with warm gloves on. So, you know, when the temperatures get super, super cold, there's not really a whole lot I can do outside. So I may have to take a day or two off or just do stuff in here, because I think after that it comes back up to the high 20s or something. It would be totally fine to be working out there. So I guess I'm going to just trim the corners up all the way to the tip top there. And then when I get around to doing the ceiling, I'll probably just pull that trim off. All the trim is going to be put on probably with these same screws. These are little, I can't remember what gauge those are. They're 2-inch screws, star bits. And I'm doing that because I often like to take stuff back apart. You guys know this is all going to get taken back apart at some point when all this lumber is dry. I'll just take a couple boards off at a time. I'll run it through the planer, which is buried down there and doesn't work right now. When it's this cold, it just doesn't pull the boards through. Especially when the boards are wet and frozen. It just won't grab them and suck them through there. I've never heard of anybody building like this, and I don't know that I'd recommend it unless you're just building, like me, you're just building for fun. Like, I didn't come out here years ago thinking I'm going to get out there, I'm going to build a cabin. I'm going to dig a well, I'm going to homestead. I just came out here for fun with a tent. So all the stuff I built is just one day I just go, oh, you know, it'd be kind of cool to build a XYZ, whatever it is. But since I build like that, just throw stuff together on the spot, I don't plan far enough ahead to mill all this lumber, stack it, sticker it, let it dry. So I like to put it up when it's still wet. And as long as you have it attached well enough, you have enough screws in here to keep it all flat. That's what keeps them from warping. I like the idea that I'm drying the lumber on the walls rather than planning, you know, a year ahead, milling it all, letting it sit outside, keep it covered, all that stuff. So I'm going to get to the trim right away. Because it is so warm, it's warmer than it's been in quite a while. The little bit of snow that was on the roofs of the man cave and the cabin has mostly melted and run off, except that there's like a bar of ice along the edges of the roofs. And I have a solution for that. It's called a big-ass battery-powered hammer drill that you can switch to just hammer. I've tried a couple different bits on here, and this one seems to work the best. Just blast the ice apart, and it's really fun to do. Oh, and you know, I like to point out stuff that I've done not wrong. I don't do stuff wrong because I don't know how to do it in the first place. But I like to point out the things that to you guys that I would change if I was to do any of this stuff again. But this, I don't think, is how you would normally build a roof. See how I didn't close in the soffit here, and I made my own vents up there. I think that'll be totally fine in the summer. But in the winter, because that's not closed in and that little area isn't insulated, the heat from the building melts the snow slowly. It slides down and then it hits this part of the roof that's really cold. I mean, it's the temperature of the outdoors, and all that water refreezes. And this is the worst spot right here for some reason. See, there's like 3 inches of ice right there. I mean, I think if you let that continue to happen, the water comes down, turns into ice, then the next bit of water comes down and backs up behind that, and it can actually back up underneath your shingles and kind of ruin the roof. there's nothing I'm going to do about it now, except, you know, if I get a day like this where I think that ice is not actually completely adhered to the shingle, so I'm going to go up there and bust it off with a hammer drill. But it's something that maybe in the summer, I don't know, I'll see how bad it is over this winter. If it gets worse and worse, I may have to invent a solution to that this summer. I mean, it's something, not knowing how to put on a roof or not knowing necessarily how you would do this normally, it didn't even cross my mind that that would be an issue. The same thing is on the man cave, although that should kind of be expected. This place has no insulation at all, and I wasn't really thinking I would be living in here. I thought I would use this as a heated tool room. I mean, maybe once in a while fold the bunk down and use it for a night or two. But since I'm heating this every night, yeah, I mean pretty much every evening for a couple hours before I go to bed, and then when I wake up another hour or two, and with no insulation, all the snow that lands on the roof melts and slides down and refreezes, which is fine. I mean, as soon as the cabin's done, you know, in the next month or so, hopefully I can move in there. Month? Week? Yeah, let's shoot for a week. And once I move back in there, this will only be used, like I'll turn the heater on if I'm doing a project or have to work on something inside here. And it's not going to end up with that giant ice dam. So this, I think the man cave, if I were to build it again, I don't think I'd do anything different. The cabin, if I did it again, I'd probably try to build the roof a little bit differently. I think the reason I built it like that is it saved me lumber. I can only mill up to, you know, 12, pretty much a 12-foot board, and I would have needed 14 feet, I think, to span all the way across there. So I would have just had to double boards, and I don't know, it got messy. I think that's why I did the roof like that. So let's bust this ice off of here, shall we? Yeah, I tried this without a helmet on. You don't need the helmet for the helmet part, but this bit just sprays ice chunks everywhere. I tried it first with this guy, which seemed like it would be the most fun, and it works, but as soon as it breaks through the ice, it has a tendency to do this, and I already punched a couple holes in the drip edge and probably put holes in the shingles, even trying to be really careful. So tried this guy, a little spatula. It works much better, but everything just sprays right back in your face. You have to excuse me if I listen to my book while I'm ice chiseling. I've had For Whom the Bell Tolls by Hemingway on hold, reserve. I've been waiting for it for 3 months, and I just got it today, so got to get into that. Woo, goes right down your neck too. See, and if you built the roof the correct way, you wouldn't get the pleasure of doing this, and this is really fun. Oh, so fun. But man, it's filling up all the open spots in my clothes. I love things like this that are super satisfying for no particular reason. So fun. Not as fun as being in a cubicle or being locked in your house with a few screaming kids, but it's still pretty good. Might as well do the cabin too while I got this out. I just said in the last video, I did some reading about these high performance batteries, not just for Ryobi, but for other brands. And they didn't seem to be really worth the money from what I read and the testing I saw, except in cold weather. And this thing does work a lot better in cold weather. If you're doing stuff like this, chisel and ice, might be worth trying them out. Man, I just did that one roof there in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, used half a battery. This thing sucks battery. I think back battery usage is directly proportional to how much fun the tool is. I'm using just the last couple minutes of the day today to get everything charged up. Once it gets down to the single digits, there's nothing I can really charge anymore. I got sick of dragging all these out by the cords, by the pigtails, and trying to get them all together, so I made myself a master charger. Got the jack recharging too, so that should be good for the next couple days. All right, let's frame some windows. Let's see, so windowsill, trim like that. Then the sides of the window will just be up flush with the wall boards. So let's just measure it out. Let's make the sill 3.5. Then the trim underneath it, it'll still leave the sill hanging over a little bit, then I can route the edges of that. I think I'm going to cut these a little bit wide, and then I'm going to run a pencil along the edge and cut them off flush. Because, you know, these being made with a chainsaw, they're not all even. Not to mention the framing underneath, the pine framing is also done with a chainsaw, so it's all a little bit wonky. So let's make these 2.5, that'll stick over a little bit, and we'll recut them. Yeah, that's it. And then get all that done, whatever's left over, we'll trim the corners here. Trying to pick out the prettiest one for the windowsill. This one that's refinished will be a really nice deep red. Kind of like the stripes in this one though. I think I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to go ahead and rip up a whole bunch of 2-inch for the outside of this, and then tomorrow when it's freezing cold we can nail all of it up. "12 degrees, but sunny and pretty beautiful." Hopefully I got enough ripped up last night that I can trim out the windows and the corners of the walls, that is. One thing I'm noticing in here when it's really cold, I've got the heat on low in here. Get all the condensation on the windows. That's all coming out of the boards that are super wet. Could even see, look at this handle's all wet. The side of the door's wet, a little drippy. So I don't know what that means, what'll happen. Hopefully I remember when it's warmer just to open the windows and doors. I mean, I guess most days when I'm working here I at least have the door open. But in the future, I will try to do that. Try to remember just to slide all the windows open too. I mean, certainly come springtime, I think I'm gonna have to buy, I think one of these windows, yeah, is the only one that's new. Yeah, that one came with the screen. The other two were second-hand windows. They didn't have screens, but I'll have to get some just so this place can air out and the water vapor will get out of here. Yeah, it says it's 37 in here. It feels like a freaking heat wave, but the lumber laying on the floor is still frozen, just a little bit. So let's see, one goes under there, one goes on there. Oh yeah, I guess I'll have to jigsaw out a little corner there so those fit together. I feel like at some point in the past I replaced windowsills in a house or something, and I feel like it was the windowsill that had a little jog in it to come out there instead of the trim being cut out. I don't know. Well, this is how we're doing it. Just about to nail this framing in before I trim it, and I remembered that I gotta stuff some insulation in these cracks, and I can't remember where the insulation is. I saved some scraps in a trash bag somewhere. I think it's in the gazebo. Let's go check. The gazebo is kind of the winter catch-all. Nice place to keep stuff from getting snowed on. And I have a feeling the cabin will be that in the summer when I have to be using the gazebo again. When it gets hot and buggy, you'll notice a very nicely marked trail going down to the gazebo. A lot crunchier than it has been the last couple days. Oh, crap. I'm gonna have to go get a shovel just to get in the door. I tried to think of all the things that needed shoveling when it was wet before it froze solid, and this is not one of them that came to mind. Yep, that's the one. Safe and sound. That'll do it. Trying to decide. I do have some little 2-inch finish nails I could do this with, which is, I think, more appropriate. But as I'm probably gonna have to take this back apart at some point, I'm wondering if I should just do screws. Just drill a little pilot hole and put a screw in there. Maybe just 2 screws in each board. And the walls are covered in screws, so I don't really mind having screw holes in the trim. Yeah, let's just do screws. We'll make it all match. Yeah, that'll be good. We don't want it to look too prissy in here, you know. It's got to be a little rough. By the time I get all the gold trim and chandeliers and everything, people aren't going to believe that I built this with a chainsaw. Screws it is, screws it is. Just realized this is running up against the wall boards that I didn't cut too precisely, so we have to do some weird spacing on these to make them even. Just kind of eyeballing this line on the window, and that gap there looks about right. And then when the trim goes on, we'll cover up that crack. Make some little measuring sticks here. $38.25. I'm going to cut these a tiny bit long, like a 1/16 long, because they'll lose a little bit of length on the end to end. Then again, the trim here is going to shrink a little too. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Would be handy to have a chop saw for this. It'd fit together a lot more nicelier. Ooh, that's a nice fit. When I was ripping these out of the whole long boards, the more I ripped, the more curved they got. So I'm gonna have to bend this into place. I can see there's a little bit of a curve like this. I think I'm gonna have to use nails, put a couple nails in, then bend it, put some more nails in. See, this hangs over just a tiny bit. I'd take those screws out and just use the angle grinder and nip it down, but I think I'll wait till these are all dried up and then make some adjustments. Oh, that's a perfect fit. I like it. I think it looks great. It's weird doing some sort of finish carpentry. It's kind of turning into a real place. This is just nothing like a tent. It's definitely cold out there. The windows are frozen in the inside. Oh, my picnic table's in the way now. I have to do something about this pretty soon. Oh, it's not as heavy as it was when we put it in here. I guess I could just measure this an extra 2 inches, but it seems more accurate if I put these on. (62 3/16). The way I drew the lines and then ripped these didn't come out exactly 2 inches, but I measured them all and they're all pretty much the same. So I could just measure from the inside of this to the inside there and then add this on, but it's like a weird 16ths, 30 seconds thing, so it's easier just to measure it like that, I think. But when you build your cabin in the woods, I suggest you do it however you want to. You'll probably find a way that I wouldn't think of. They wouldn't normally do it wherever they are, and works way better. Just be creative. The heck was that? Oh, it's ice falling out of the trees onto the roof. It's interesting, this is the heartwood here, but this piece is mostly sapwood. I don't know if you can see the difference. It looks waxy and it's frozen solid. You can see right here, sapwood there, and that's where the heartwood comes through. It's definitely going to shrink up a lot. I'd assume that the sapwood will shrink a whole lot more because it's the water content's so high. You know, for those of you that are watching these videos because somewhere in the back of your head you're vaguely thinking it might be fun to get a piece of property and go do something like this, there is absolutely no reason you shouldn't do this. Maybe you don't have a lot of building experience. I'm not a builder. You can figure all this out. It may not look anything like this. It may be leaned a little bit to the left. Doesn't make any difference. Just go do it. Go try it. You build one small thing, maybe it falls over, so you say, screw it, I'll use the lumber that I already made, build something else with it. Maybe that one gets crushed by a falling tree, and you just get up and do it again, build another one. By the time, what is this, like the third or fourth cabin-y looking thing that I've built out here? I think it's actually going to work. I think it's totally fine. It doesn't make any difference if the joints aren't tight, or even if the thing isn't square. This thing's not square. That wall's like 4 inches longer than that wall. Who cares? You should give it a try. You really should. It's pretty fun. Or don't build anything. Just get yourself a little piece of property and go out and camp. You know, maybe at some point you want to put a tarp over the top of your tent, and then you'll think, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I closed in the ends. Actually, that's exactly where the lean-to came from. That was just a pole with some saplings coming off of it, tied between a couple trees, and 2 tarps over the top. And then at some point, we thought it'd be kind of cool to close the ends in. I think that's the first time I ever used a chainsaw mill. We put the ends on there, cut out a door with the chainsaw, slapped some boards on to hold it all together so you could swing it open. The ceremonial opening of the door. That's as far as you got. I don't know. 3 years later, you're building yourself a house. I don't really hear any good excuses coming from you why you wouldn't do this. Done. It's nice to only have 3 windows at a time like this. Alright, how is we gonna do this again? I think something like that. Maybe I'll just put this edge right down the middle of this. Actually, I'm gonna have to nail into this probably, unless when I get it together, it can just kind of free float. I mean, this will be nailed to the wall, and this doesn't necessarily have to be attached. That'll work fine. So, put that on there. And then I'll have to rip a piece to stick in here to make it nice and purdy-like. think I'm gonna have to trim a couple of these back further to fit that trim piece stuffed in there. This is what is this? Reason number 604, 640 something, to put stuff together with screws or to not pound the nails in all the way. You never know when you want to take it back apart. Alright, now we just need a little strip for in here. It's just going to rip those with the battery powered circular saw, but I need 2 more boards, so I want to trim these out. I think I did decide I'm just going to put 1 stick like that. I think it'll look fine. And all I have left that I've ripped up is 2, so I need to rip the wedges for the door, and then I need the 4 corners. Look at this. It's like a while after Christmas miracle. I keep pulling this tarp back and just leaving the snow sit there, and I just thought I'd shovel it out a little bit. There's a whole nother pile of lumber under there. The big ones too. They're like at least 10 footers. Oh, I guess we'll just have to try real hard and find something to do with those. What a score. Alright, go back inside where it's warm. I'll rip this stuff up. Let's go. Holy cow. It is hot and extremely cedary in here. Yeah, it's like a sauna, but humider or something. Humider? Yeah. Yeah, humider. Well, that don't fit. Oh, need some trimming. Perfect. Oh, I found some really weensy nails. I don't even know if you can call these things nails. Always leave them sticking out. You know, you know. That actually worked better than I thought it was going to. I think that looks pretty sweet. Problem I see here is these hinges are in the way, so either I gotta do this in pieces. Oh no, I'll just pop this off. Alright, last pieces of trim, pretty it up, and then, I don't know, decide either ceiling or furniture. I'm sure feeling like furniture after a 0-degree morning. Oh, looks so nice to get a single piece of trim on there. I'm just thinking, The one thing I'm most curious to see with this entire build is if this place ends up all moldy and mildewy behind the wall boards. Everything else I've built with green lumber has been totally fine, but I've never used insulation. I've never made a double layer of, you know, wall boards and siding. And my thinking is using the green stuff on here, that as all the wood heats up, the moisture can only come out this way into the room. So even though the back of this board is wet, I'm thinking eventually that moisture will find its way back through the wood and out. It may not, maybe that's totally crazy. I just took a couple of the wall boards off over there before I trimmed the corners, just to kind of readjust them. They weren't sitting flat. And you could see the paper on the insulation is not soaking wet, but you can see little patches where it was wet, where there's probably ice in the back of the boards. So there's a distinct possibility that these walls will just be full of mold. I have no idea. If that happens, no problem. I'll take care of it. I mean, cedar's a pretty good board for that. Things have a hard time living on and in it, but we'll use this for the next, few months or so. Probably the wall boards will dry out quite a bit. It's going to be still like a damp warmth in here for the rest of the winter. But the good thing is when it warms up outside, they're going to be taken down one at a time, run through a planer, so I'll get to see inside the wall. And if there's even the tiniest bit of, you know, mold growing back there, I'll have to deal with it. I don't know, maybe I'd have to pull the insulation out, re-insulate, which really would be like a 1 or 2 day project because all the boards are already cut and already have screw holes in them, so they go up just fine. But I like doing stuff like this, you know? I think my initial thought is you wouldn't want to take the chance of getting mold in the walls no matter what. But even this is just a playhouse. This is all just for fun. I mean, I slept in a tent for 3 winters out here. That was no problem. Staying in the man cave, even when it was 0, no problem. So we'll see. I'll let you know. Well, you guys will probably see 3 or 4 or 5 months from now when I take the first boards down. If I scream and run and yell and set the place on fire, you'll know it ended up moldy. I guess that's the other good reason that I wasn't able to... That is a good reason. See how things work out sometimes? You guys remember a while ago when I got that planer, I actually ran a few of these boards through it and I couldn't get them to go, so I decided not to plane them. If I'd planed them all before I put them up and got this far, I wouldn't be surprised in a month or 2 from now when everything's kind of dried out if I would have varnished it, and that would have sealed everything in. We'll see. Place your bets. It might be a big disaster. You know something else that only pops into my head once in a while? Another thing that's really exciting about getting this place finished is as soon as it's done and I can move my crap in here, I actually have a heated workshop. That's what I built the man cave for, and put the heater in there so that if I got a little project to work on, I can go in there and build a table or something. I can take my chainsaws in there and work on them out of the weather. That is going to be sweet. Live in the woods like this and have a heated tool room. Ooh, look how bowed that thing is. It's not even cold right now, but the bottom several lines of screws have big old clumps of frost on them. That's crazy on the uninsulated floor. Well, sheesh. If I didn't know better, I think we were done. Might need to put some, eventually put some trim along the floor. I don't know, probably won't bother with that now. Doesn't really make any difference. I don't know if I may end up, when I take all this down, you know, this trim will have to come off. I think the way I put it together is like this whole piece, these 2 pieces together is just 2 screws and the whole piece comes right off of there. I think those are just nailed into that. So those will be easy to take them apart in pieces. I'm not sure if I guess if I plane all the wall boards down, I'll probably plane this off. Yeah, because I'm going to want to varnish everything together. And then I think I will route the edges of all these. I mean, it looks fine the way it is, but I don't know. It's just kind of fun to do that stuff. Like to really pretty it up that last little bit so it looks unreasonable to be out here in the in the forest building a cabin like this without any purchased lumber. I haven't yeah, nothing I built out here. I haven't purchased a single stick of lumber. A lot of gallons of gasoline, but I mean, for how much lumber I've made, it's really not that much using that little bitty chainsaw to mill with. Well, I think yeah, I think that ceiling's going to be left. I really want to get stuff moved in here in the next couple weeks. It's a strange thing, but northern Michigan winters can get pretty frigid and they can tend to go on for years, just years. So I'll get around to that whenever I can. You know, if I have a few extra sticks of lumber here or there, I'll pop them up there. And that being the case, this is actually the part of the whole build I'm looking forward to the most, is building this desk and building my bed. I don't know if I showed you guys a picture before. I think it was on my weather app or something. This picture of a crazy bed came up, like space age, you know, only for multimillionaires. But I like the fact that there were parts of it that opened up, or things that slid, or, you know, storage cabinets underneath and all that. So maybe what I'll do is build the main part of the bed, you know, just the bunk thing that I could put my thermarest on and actually sleep on. And then as I have time, or I figure it out, I could build onto it. I think I would like to have, unlike the other bunks I've made that are up against the wall and hinge, this is going to be permanent. There's no situation where I'm going to need to hinge it. So I think I'm going to bring it out a little bit. Actually, kind of almost like this. I'd like to have a little like table along one side that's just, I don't know, 6 inches up from where you're laying to like set my computer and stuff on. You know, a place to leave your books and whatnot. Of course, there'll be like shelves around it. And then maybe also like a flip up storage thing at the headboard. You could put, I don't know, you could put pillows in there, or blankets or whatever. I'm not sure what else. I was also thinking it would be cool to put like a fold down table, like a skinny table that would come down out of this wall. You could drop it down flat there next to you. Because I do a lot of editing on my computer just sitting on my bed with a couple pillows behind my back. So it'd be kind of sweet if you were laying there, you know, your back up against here and you had a table on this side and a table on that side. I don't know. Sometimes my brain goes a little overboard with building this stuff, but I mean, that's the fun of it. So I think the first thing though, I think we should finally dig out those amazing spalted, are they spalted? Those 2-inch cedar boards I'm going to make this giant desk out of. Most of you guys know the plan for that, but the biggest thing I'm going to use this cabin for is to be able to be in here in the winter and use my computer. I also, I want to have my 3D printer set up, and I want to have both my microscopes set up all the time. So the desk, I'm thinking, actually might almost be this depth. It might come to, shoot, I don't know, it might just come to right there. And just do this all the way down to the corner, and then come out, I don't know, maybe to the edge of the window or almost the door or something. Maybe I'll cut the corner off. But that's the other cool thing. I think it'd be awesome. Like maybe I'll make a cool desk chair or something. I do want it to be able to roll around, but I'd like to be able to sit in the corner, like have a computer and a printer, 3D printer or whatever, like right there. I don't know, so many ideas, but let's go ahead and grab those boards and just have a look at them. Now that I don't have to move a bunch of stuff around here all the time, I can at least bring them in here and get them drying out a little bit more. That's probably what I'll have to use for, I don't know, either the bed. I think I will make the bed out of cedar. Those would be sweet. Otherwise, I don't know, I'll probably have to make some framing, like some 2x stuff. Not really sure how I'm going to do the desk, but otherwise, if I've got leftovers, I'll put all those into the ceiling in there. The only person that's looked under here in months is Sarah's dog, Ruby. She's a lowrider. She just walks right underneath all this. Oh yeah, baby. Y'all remember this nice stuff? I think these outside cuts aren't quite as crazy, but they will be when they're planed and varnished. Some of the other boards are really pretty interesting. Yeah, see that? Pretty sweet. Looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 7 big ones. I think they're up to maybe 15 or 16 inches wide. That'll be enough to make a pretty massive desk. I think I'm gonna shuttle them in there and then call it quits for the night. Getting hungered. Oh yeah, look at the cool stripes on these. Pretty cedar, if I ever saw it. All right, got them all in here. That's actually a lot more than I thought I had. I got just one of them. They're all about the same length. One laid out here, that's right at the end of where the picnic table boards are. And it comes a little bit past where that is, which is cool. So I could probably put 2 or 3 boards going this way. Maybe I just cut one of those in half. You can put halves there and then have these butt up and go down that way. Perfect. So I may actually get away with only using half of those for my desk. It's awesome. I can use it for so much other stuff. You make like a end table or a coffee table or a footstool. Oh, I also have that weird floating coffee table I made. I think that's down in the gazebo too. I put that back together and use it in here somewhere. Oh, this is gonna be great. Oh yeah, let's see if we can find the leg for this thing. I see it. You see it? That big wishbone right there? It's super heavy. Even when I cut it, it was probably 100 pounds. But I was thinking that goes on the floor and then it wishbones up and holds the desk. So go from the floor up a foot or something and then wishbone out. Maybe I could make it so that this is the only foot on the whole thing. You could put it right in the middle of the L, like back in the L. I don't want to like be banging my knees on it or anything. I don't want to put that in there and make the desk unusable, but I would like to use it because it'd look super weird to see this giant heavy desk and then just one forked leg underneath there. Yeah, I'll have to dig it out tomorrow and think up a design and start chopping. Thanks for watching The Worm, as always. Look forward to seeing you next week. I don't know, before too long, I might have that new tool I keep talking about. Hard to say. Could be days, could be weeks, hopefully not months. But things are going to get wild out here after that. Just wild. See you next week. Thanks.